Ravi, can you make me a host?
Yeah, I'll stop share. So yeah.
So today we'll be starting the development part. So I'll be explaining what are the major parts in development and what we have, what we do in development actually. So I have shown you this is our developer console where we write our classes, Visual Force pages, Lightning classes, uh, and also we have LWC which is upcoming. Those are all the things we'll be creating here, and we'll be building the application. We'll be writing our custom code here. We'll be writing our triggers. We can execute our queries, SQL queries here. So I'll be explaining what are the major parts in that. So first thing is Apex class. Apex class is like we'll be writing our code, the functionality, or if we have any business process to execute any code, we'll be writing Apex class. Uh, So this is like we can we can query something from the Apex class and we can modify the data, update it or delete it using Apex classes. So if we have any business functionality, if you have any calculations, if you have any changes to be done to the data, everything and we can do it in Apex class and we can update it to server. I mean database. So here to get the data from the database, we'll be writing SQL queries. Uh, Salesforce Objective Query Language. We call it as SOQL. And we have another thing called SOSL, which is a search language. It is only for searching. We'll be explaining the differences of both the things. Uh, so first we'll go with Apex class. To create an Apex class, we have a file. In file, we can under new we can create an Apex class. We'll be giving some name for that, and we'll be creating the Apex class for that. And another thing is Visual Force pages. Visual Force pages is like a UI part where you can build a UI with some designs. You can add some images and you can add some buttons when you click some button. If you want any action or if you want to call any method in the Apex class, then the UI functionality will be done in VF pages. Now currently we have Lightning also. So same thing with Lightning also. Lightning is built for UI based. So Visual Force pages are existing one where we use in Classic. Now the new thing is Lightning, which is currently running on, and upcoming is LWC, Lightning Web Components. So that I will not be explaining because I'm in learning stage of that. And also Batch Apex. So I'm just briefly explaining what is what. That's it today. Next, we'll go into the data types and how what are the variable types we have. So batch apex is like a predefined functionality where some set of annotations will be there, such that uh, in Salesforce we have something called governor limits, where as I explained you cannot query more than 10,000 records at a time. So if you want to update some 1 lakh records, so you cannot do it using the Apex class. You cannot query all the 1 lakh records using SQL query and update it. So for that, we have something called batch Apex to overcome those limitations. We have something called batch Apex, where you can update any number of records. You can update 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 lakh of records, but it will take some time. Automatically, backendly, it will be running. It's an asynchronous call. Asynchronous and synchronous also I'll be explaining what are the differences of asynchronous and synchronous and what are types of asynchronous also I'll be explaining uh, how we use that. So batch effects is an asynchronous call where you can automatically if you say there are 10 lakhs records to be updated with some data or some field need to be updated with a specific value. Uh, In such type of situation, we'll be going with batch effects. So batch effects, we have some syntax for that. So I'll be explaining what is batch effects and how to write a batch effect and update those records also with an example. So if there are around 1 lakh of records, so using our Apex class, we cannot do that. You cannot query more than 10,000 records using SQL query, and you cannot update them using an Apex class. So for that, we got a batch Apex where you'll be writing the query for that. So here there will be no limitation for that. But what it does is in the query we'll be giving the conditions what data needs to be picked up. So according to the condition, how many records is there also uh, it will not give exception for that. It will take how many records it gets, but the processing will happen according to the given limitation. Such as we can give only one record should be processed this time. So that first record will be processed, and again it will run for second record. Like that, the process goes on. So from in the batch Apex, maximum is 2000. So if you give 2000 in the execution method, like we will be having while you execute the batch Apex, we need to give how many records to be processed at a time. So if you give 10 records, so it will pick up first 10 records, then process it, update. Then it will take another 10 records, next 10 records, and process it and update like that. So it will be doing in such a way. So minimum is 1 and maximum is 2000. If you don't give anything like 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100, if you don't mention anything when you execute this batch effect, it automatically takes 200 as a default. So if you don't give any specific number for the batch effect when you execute the batch effect, it will pick up 200 records at a time, process it, update it. Then after processing first set of 200 records, then it will pick up 200 another 200 and it will process it. In such a way, batch effects will be uh, running. So how many records are there? It will not all the records will be processed, but for 1 lakh of records, it may take around 1 hour or 15 minutes according to the data available and according to the complexation of code we have written. It will take some time. We can see how many batches are processed in the UI. I'll be showing that when I explain you the batch effects when we go to the topic of batch effects, how to check the processing of records, how to check if one batch is failed. Like let's say if there are 1,000 records and you have given 200 as a batch size, and we'll call it as batch size. So every time it will pick 200 records and process it and update. So it will be having 200, right? So total records are 1,000. Then there will be then 5 batches will be running. Like 5 set of executions will happen. Like every time it will pick 200 records, execute it and update it like that. So if any of the batch fails, means some data is wrong or something is not accepting, some exception happened while you execute the batch effect. So you can see the errors also in the log or in the execution of job, Apex jobs. So I'll be showing that when we come across batch effect. So another major part is triggers. So trigger is like let's say when you are inserting an account, so you create a new account and click on save. So every time you save a record or edit and save a record or delete a record, that time we can write a trigger to be executed. So so every time you you create a new record or edit the existing record or delete any record. So at the time of saving or deleting, you can execute a trigger. It will be automatically executed when some action happens on the record level. So if you modify some data and save it, then you are editing a record. So at that time we can fire a trigger. So on save only, we don't need to write any we no need to call any method by using by using any functionality or like that. Automatically on the save button only, a trigger will be executed. If you change something and save, then the trigger will be executed. Or if you edit and save, then a trigger will be executed. Or if you delete any record, a trigger will be executed. Uh, let's say you have deleted some record, it will be in recycle bin. It will be in recycle bin. If you again get it from the recycle bin, if you restore it back, then also we can execute a trigger. So if you want to do some functionality on saving of a record, so if a new account is saved, let's say if a new account is created according to the given criteria, we want to send a mail, or if you want to create a record in another object. So then at a time, we have a workflow and process builder also. But if there are any complex calculations or some conditions need to be checked, so we may not be able to do it using workflow and process builder. At that time, we'll go to triggers. So a new record can be created using process builder also. I have explained how to create a new record in another object using process builder. But if there are any complex calculations, complex checks, which cannot be done using process builder, then at that time we'll be going with the trigger. So we'll be going with a trigger. And So we have lots of type of triggers, like before trigger, after trigger, before insert means before insert, after insert, before delete, after delete. So those all types I'll be explaining with examples when we start on trigger topics. Trigger is also a major functionality. We'll get a lot of work on the triggers. And SOQL. SOQL is Salesforce Object Query Language. So SOQL, we can't see the database, we can't access the database, but all the records which we save, the data which we save, this is a account record. So this all data will be saved in a database, which is in cloud, which is at Salesforce. We cannot open the database and see, but we can query any of the data. So we can query any of the data using SOQL queries. So it's the query. We can add some where conditions and do some. We can get the data and we can update the data. So SOSL is like search Salesforce. It's a search language. It's not. It's like the major difference between SOQL and SOSL is like SOQL is you'll be querying only on one object and parent or child objects with the related objects only. See, if I say there is no relation between two objects, accounts and opportunities, if I say there is no relation, then you cannot query, you cannot use SOQL mixed between opportunities and accounts. But SOSL is like search. If you give, if you want to search a name, if you want to search with this record, this name, then SOSL will be searching on whole objects, all the objects in Salesforce, and it will show some results. So another thing is DML operations. So DML operations are like we can insertion of data or update of data or delete of data or undelete of data. This all comes under DML operations. We call them as DML operations, like insertion. So if you want to insert some records using Apex coding, so we'll be having a DML operation called insert. This is the operation for inserting new records. If you want to update some records, so this is the DML operation for updation of records. And if you want to delete, you can we'll be writing as a delete. This is the delete operation for DML operation. We have something called upsert. So at the time of data loader, we have done upsert, right? In the same way, upsert works. We'll be giving some set of data to some variable, and we can upsert. If the record is already existing, then it will update the data for existing record. If the record does not exist in Salesforce, then it will create a new record. That's the functionality of upsert. So until it will be getting it from a recycle bin, and it will be restoring it. So these are the DML operations. So we'll be using these only, the major ones. And also we have something called ID. I'll be explaining that in the primitive data types. So these are the major functionalities in development. So more, we have something small things like schedule apex, which have, and also asynchronous jobs. So all will be covered in these apex classes, and batch apex and triggers. These topics I'll be covering those all things also. So another major part is like variables. If you want to save some data, okay, let's say. So let's say Avi is my name. So I want to save this type of string. We call it as text value in one of the variable, and I want to use it in the future purposes, or I want to process using that string value. So for that we need some handler or holder which holds this data. So we call them as variables. So we call them as variables. Variables are like just to hold the data in. They'll be holding the data which we have given. So by that we can store, we can process the data using that. Like if we have uh, if we have a string called my city is Hyderabad. So I want to save this string in, I want to store this string I want to use it in my coding in future purpose. I want to do some process using this string. So I need to store this thing in some place. So those we call it as variables. So we have different types of data types. We call them as data types also. So we have different types of database data types in Salesforce. These we call data types. These are all the different data types in Salesforce. We have primitive data types. So primitive data types, we have different types of primitive data types in that. So these are different types of primitive data types. So first thing is integer. So integer is like we can save numbers in integer. So if we have any numbers, then we'll be saving in this type of data type. So we'll be defining some variable like integer my number. So this is how we define in the class. So if I want to store some number, 10 number in one of the variable, so we'll be defining it as integer data type, and we'll be giving some name. So this is creation of variable. So I'm creating a variable which is integer type, means my number will be storing. So with my number will be storing some number in that. So I can give some number. So in this way, like I am defining my number as integer. This is an integer type now. If I want to use somewhere this integer, I can use that in my future purpose. That's why I'm storing. If you want to store some data, integer type of data, this is how we'll be storing creating the integer data type, and we'll be storing the number. So I'll be relating it to the object also. We have created some fields in the object, right? So we have lot of fields here. So we can get this all data into Salesforce, and we can process that data. So for integer, we have lot of data types. We have fields, right? We have created some fields. I'll be comparing which field will be, which field type will be applicable for which data type. So these are all our data types. So we can, if there is a checkbox field, in which type of data type we'll be saving that data. So integer will not accept the checkbox field data value. Like a date, if it is a date type, we cannot store that data in integer type. So if I say that if I create an integer data type, my number, and if I give a date for this, and if I give some 02/05/2020, then Salesforce will not accept, because this is date type, and which we have defined it as integer type. So we need to, here it will accept only the numbers. It will not accept any string. If I give Abhi into integer data type, then it will not accept. Salesforce will throw an error. So in the same way, what type of fields where we can save it? We have different type of data types in which we can save these field values. I'll be explaining parallelly. So integer. If the data type is like, if the field is number field, if the field is number field, then only we can save that in the integer database. Integer, and this will be the annotation. You should not give in single quotes. You will be giving the number. You can give a static value, or you can get a number field from the object. I'll be showing how to get this field, or if you have a field data, how to get that and assign to an integer also. I'll be showing that in future. So you can give a number directly to an integer type, or if any field has field in the record, that data we can assign it to integer variable. So any questions? Okay. So when you create a number field with decimals, we have decimals also, right? When we create this number type field, we can give decimals also. If you give decimals, if there are any decimals, we cannot assign it to integer data type. We need to go to double. So double will accept with the decimals. Let's say currency will be having decimal point. So let's say the value of the price is 10.50 price. So then we'll be assigning it to double. Double will accept decimal points, and integer will not accept the decimal point. Integer should have only a number without any decimal point. If we have any decimal points, we need to give it to double. So here, if the number field is created with any decimal points, we need to assign that to double. And if we have currency field, we have currency field. So this currency field also we can assign it to double. So next thing is long. Long is same like long is same like integer, but it will be accepting large number of values. So there is a limitation for integer where it can accept around so integer has some limitations. It can accept around 12,000 digits. If there are more than that, it will not accept, the integer will not accept that number. So if there are more than 12,000 digits, then we need to go to long type of data type. It can accept around 2.64. So long can accept 2 to the power of 64 to minus 2 to the power of 64. So it will accept if there are any digits, 2 to the power of 64 digits, if there are, long will accept, and to the decimals also, minus digits also it will accept. It will also accept in minus 2 to the power of 64. How much number we'll get, it will accept that type of number in long. So next data type is date data type. So date will accept all formats of date like mm, dd, yy, or if we have dd, mm, yy. We have another format for yy, mm, and also it will accept like 02 May 2020. These type of formats also it will accept. So these are all the date formats. We can convert if you get some format in mmdd by yy, then you can convert into ddmmy. So I'll be explaining how can we convert it, and also we can convert the date to string format also. So these are all the formats which the date will accept. So we need to give in this format. So we have some fields in object type. Well, creation of fields, we can create a date type. So we can create a date type of field in an object. So we have something called expiration date. So if some value is present in this field, we can assign it to a variable which is a date type. I can create a date type variable. This is the format, and we can store the value in that. So it will store this date type. So if you want to use this value, it's somewhere in your coding. You'll be creating a variable which is date type, and you'll be assigning that value to this value. So my date will store this date, and you can use this date everywhere in the coding, and you can process it. So these are all the formats, date formats, which this will be accepting. So we have another thing called another field which is date type. We can add this date type to this date field also, but whatever the time is there in this date and time, it will accept only date, and it will be storing in this. If you say date is this and 14 hours 20 minutes, I think is 14 hours 20 minutes, and if you add this value to this, it will accept only the date. This will be ignored. The time will be ignored, and only date value will be added to this variable. It will contain only date value. And we have another thing, another way where data type called date type. So where it accepts date and also time. So here we can give let's say this is our date and time. If the date and time is like date is second, I hope so if there is something called date and time, we have a field type called date and time. If you want to save this date and time in any of the variables, you can create a data type date and time. You can create a variable with data type date and time, and you can store that value into that. date time data type. We call it as that. And another thing is called string. String is just we can add any type of text. If it is it may be a single word or single letter or some text like, so if I say there is a big text or a sentence is there, a paragraph is there. So those things you can save it in. If a paragraph is there or if a big text is there, you can save all those things in the string type variable. You can create a string type variable and you can store it. It should be in single quotes. If you want to give some data to string, it should be in single quotes. So in this way, this value will be stored in this string. We have to define this as string type. We call it as variable, right? This variable is string type, and we can add any data to that. So this whole value, this whole data will be saved in this variable, this string type. And also when come to fields, so if there is an email, we can store it into string type. The field value which is email, we can store it in string type. And also we have a pick list. We'll be having a pick list, right? If there is a pick list selected, that value will be stored in string type. So if you want to give some data to, if you want to get the data with field value, industry field value, we have selected energy. If you want to get the value and store it in some of the variable, then you can store it in the string type. You cannot store it in date or integer or date time. It can be only stored in string. So email type can be stored and phone type can be stored and pick list type can be stored. The value which is if the field is pick list type, then that can be stored string type and something multi pick list also. Multi pick list value also be stored string type and all this text area, text long, all can be stored in the all the text type fields. Fields can be stored in the string type variable. So if you define a string type variable, all these types can be saved. And also something called ID we have. So this is also another type, ID. So ID is a unique identification of Salesforce. So like if you created a record, this is a record, this is a single record. So a unique ID will be given to each record in Salesforce. This is an account record. For this, a unique ID will be generated, and in the backend, it will be assigned to this record. So if you want to get the data of this record using this ID will be there for this record. Using that ID, you can search in accounts and you can get the data of this whole record. So that will be in 18 digits, 15 digits, and 18 digits. Or so I'll be if you are searching in Salesforce, like if you are if you want to search a record using Salesforce ID, we call it as Salesforce ID, Salesforce record ID. If you want to search record in Apex class, if you want to get a record in an Apex class, if you're querying, you're writing an SQL query, and in where condition you're writing where ID is equals to something, you can give 15 digits. But if you want to get the record from an external application using an integration, if you want to get a record, if you want to pass some ID and get a record, then you need to use 18 digits. So if you are using it internally in Salesforce, you can use 15 digits. If you are trying to get the record from an external system, you use 18 digits. So generally, if you want to see ID of this record, it will be on the URL. So this is the ID of this record. So let's say I'm opening this. So this is the unique ID. It generates automatically for each record in every object. In every object, for each record, the ID will be generated. This we call it as record ID. So I have an ID. Let's say I have an ID. I want to open that record directly. I will just clear the URL and paste that ID. Just enter. So automatically the ID will be open. The record will be open. So this is the unique identification for each record. If there are 100 records, for each record, a unique identification will be generated. It will be 15 digits or 18 digits. If you are using it in Salesforce, you can get it. You can use 15 digits or 18 digits. But if you are trying to get that record from an external system using integration, then you need to use 18 digits. So ID can store only Salesforce IDs. So this is Salesforce record ID. This is a unique identification for this record. Uh, Only this ID will be saved in this data type, ID data type. So this can be saved in string also. A string can contain, string will accept, string data type will accept ID also. But ID will not accept string or date or any of the other. ID will accept only IDs, Salesforce IDs, rather than Salesforce ID. It will not accept any. If it is not, if you are trying to use some data, let's say you have defined an ID, account ID, and you are trying to give some random text, then it will not accept. Salesforce will not accept. If you define this and give some dummy data in your Apex class, Salesforce will not accept. Uh, it should be a identification, Salesforce ID only, validate. It should be in single. So string will accept if you have any ID, you can define it as a string, my ID, and you can give that one. So you can save this in string format, string data type, and also ID data type. And another thing is Boolean. So Boolean will accept only two values, that is true or false. So Boolean will be accepting only true and false. It accepts only these two values, whether true or false. Let's create one. So Boolean data type will be accepting only true or false. If you create a variable with Boolean data type, you need to give only two values, that is true or false. So you'll be giving like true. Or it will not if you give small letters or capital letters, anything it will accept. It's not case sensitive. It's not a case sensitive. Just it should be true or false. You need not to give single quotes for that. If you give single quotes, then it will take as string type. So if you give a value to Boolean, it should be either true or false. So when coming to the fields, we have called something called checkbox. So checkbox will be using it as Boolean. So if checkbox is checked, so if checkbox is checked, then the value of checkbox is true. So if I give Boolean and checkbox, and if I want to assign this check the checkbox, then it will take it as true. If the checkbox is checked, then it's true. If the checkbox is unchecked, then the value of the field is false. So let's say I have a pick list. So in the pick list, I have given assign let's say true and false. I cannot assign that to Boolean value. So still I'm giving true and false. Let's create a value. So let's say I have a pick list with values true and false. So if I get this pick list value that is true, and if I want to assign it to a Boolean, still I cannot, because a pick list value can be assigned only to a string. If there is a pick list value, this is a pick list value, this where the value is true, then it can be assigned only to a string, not for a Boolean. Still, if it is a true or false, the value is true, still we cannot give it to Boolean. We can give it only to string. But we have something called conversion. Okay. So we can convert any data to string. Like let's say I have integer. The value is 10. 10 is a number. We can convert this value to string. We can convert an integer value to string, and we can save it in a string type. Let's say string my name. So I'm giving 10. It will not accept. But we can convert this number value to string, and we can save it in string type. So for that we have something called dot. So in this way This is a number. We can convert this number into string value and we can save in data type string data type. So if you have 10 in string format, let's say, if you give in single quotes, then it's a string. So we have a string value. You can still convert it into integer. So this 10 is stored in this value, right? My number. So this is string value. This is in string format. I want to convert it to integer. Then I can say integer dot value of. So if I say in this format, then this string value, the number 10 is in string format. Then it will become converted into integer, and it will be saved in this variable. So you can convert an integer to a string and a string to integer, or you can convert a date to string. You can convert a date to a string, but you cannot convert a date to integer because the format is different. We have some slashes and the format is different. You cannot convert this into integer, but you can convert this date into string, and also the boolean. If it is true or false, you can convert it into string. Let's take, I have this checkbox with true value. I can convert it into boolean. So in that way, we can convert from one data type to another data type. So most of the things are like we can convert any data type to string, but a string cannot be converted into some of the data types. Like a date cannot be converted into integer, or a number if a number is there, you cannot convert it into date. In the type we have some. Any questions? Radhika and Nagendra?
No, Abhilash, I'm good.
This all comes under primitive data type. This we call the we have something called collection. These are type of collection: list, sets, and maps. So if you want to save some like you have 10 names. We have 10 names like Abhilash, Anshul, Nagendra, Radhika. All these things are there. You want to save it one place. Then you can save it in this collection type of data type. Large number of data can be saved in one place. We call them as collection. We can, we can collect all them and save it in this type of data. So each data type has each functionality, like some different functionality. Like list can save, list can have duplicates. List will accept duplicates. So list can accept duplicates. Let's say we have uh, uh, So these are all the names, or these are all the string values where I need to save at one place. And if I want to process anything, I will get all those things and I will be processed. So if I want to save at one place, I can use this stuff. So all these variables can be saved in only this type of variable, list type of variable. So each will be unique and identical. Each will be a different value. It will not be saved as a single string. It will be saved as different strings. Each will be different one. So all these types will be saved in string. So list will accept duplicates also. So let's create a collection type list, and how to store values list. So this is the format how we initialize a list. Like the name start with list, and lesser than symbol, and what data type it is. You can save a string, day. It can be a date or long or date time, whatever all primitive data types are there. You can save here. If you want to save numbers, then we'll define this as list of, and we can save all these things in this list. So as of now, I'm creating the list of. So if you want to create a new variable which accepts list of strings, this is the this is the annotation how we initialize that. If we write in this format only, then we can use these variables string names, and we can store all these values into this collection. So if you want to add those data into the list, then the format is str names dot add. So Abhi will be added to the list. Now, if you want to add another value, str names dot add, and the second value. Yeah. Add, and the third value. So in the same way, how many values we have, we will be adding all those things, and all these value will be stored in the collection type for list, which is the variable is str name. If you want to, if you write it in the debug, then you will be seeing all those things under str name. So all this data will be saved in str name. We save this variable. So let's say if I add a new one, So it will look like so this is the data which is present in HTML in this format, like it will be stored like this. So it will accept duplicates also. A list will accept duplicates also. But if I say sets, then it will not accept duplicates. So it's same like list only. Set will not accept duplicates. So let's say create set also. We have some annotation, same like list only. Set of this variable name we can give anything, just it's our own view. Whatever we need to give or we like to give, we can give as name. It should not have any spaces or any special characters in variable. It should be only uh, letters only, alphabets. So I have created a set called set names. So let's say I'm adding some data to that. So I have added all this value to set names. So it will look like in this type. So it will be like this. It will remove the duplicates. I have added Abhi as 2 times. So what happens is it will be removing the duplicates and only these values will be available in the set. Let's say if you want to add something integers, the same way we can. Here we are not giving as a single quotes because it's an integer. Then it will look like in this form. Like this, the list will be storing the values. If they are integers, it will be storing in this format. If they are string, it will be storing in this format. And if integers, it will be storing in this format. In the same way, if there are any duplicates in integer also, it will set will not accept it will remove the duplicates and store only unique values. And the third thing is maps. So list will be storing will be storing the duplicates, and it will be single values, and sets also will be storing single values, but it will not accept any duplicates. If we add any duplicates, it will remove the duplicates and will be storing all the unique values. So maps has a different map will be storing the value in the form of key and var. So in this format, it will be same. There will be a key and there will be an associated value for the key. In this format, it will be same. Key1, value 1, comma. So in this format, it will be same the data. There will be a key and associated value, and a key associated value. So let's say in the string, if you want to get the third value, you cannot. If you want to get the third value, you need to write in this format. Str. So this will give the third value, but not sure you'll get this value. It can be like it can save randomly. You have given Abhi as first value, but it can be saved somewhere at the last also. So you cannot control the values. You cannot get a third value. If you try to get, if you give this thing, it will be getting the third value, but not sure this is the value we are getting. So this may be in this place or it may be anywhere. The value may be anywhere. Uh, like we have added Abhi first, but it can be saved at third place, third position also. Like that way. Same sets also, we have added Abhi first, but it can be at the third position. But if you want to get the third value, you need to in map. If you want to get the any value, you will be giving key to that, and we can get the value of the key. So I'll continue maps tomorrow. That's on my side. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Abhilash.
Thank you.